This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Sysco. Sysco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NCF&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, asking to use your biggest table to record this podcast, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I'm your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And actually, Brian, Mr. Announcer Guy, we are on location this week.
That's right.
In a very special place that you are going to know. As soon as I say it, we are in Deep Run, North Carolina, in the magnificent home of the woman you know and love. That's right, Viv's Fridge, Lenoir, Handy and Hot. Of course, the chef and the farmer soon to come back. It is the one, the only, the vivacious Vivian, big time Howard.
Good God. Oh, yeah.
You gotta tease it.
And Tina.
And Tina's here. How can I forget Tina?
Yeah. Hello, Tina. And for those that aren't watching you and just listening, click over and start watching this show on our video on our YouTube station, because we're on location and this house is unbelievable. This is beautiful. This is like, now I understand why when we were like setting this up, like, will you come to the studio? And you're like, yeah, I could. You come to me. How about that? And it's like, if I had a place like this, everybody would come to me.
Well, not in Deep Run necessarily, but as I was telling you, I've been traveling a lot for like spring break with my kids and work, and I don't know. If people will come to me, I will have them, because it's really extraordinary out here too, and I have a lot of things happening around the property that I'll show you.
Okay. Give us a little preview, like what's happening.
I'm making that a guest house back there.
Okay.
And then I have acquired that church at the end of the road.
Oh,
are you a deacon now?
No, it's no longer a church. It's the Methodist diocese came in and shut it down on New Year's Day this year.
Okay.
It only had for the last 10 years since I've lived in this house, there's been 2 cars out there every Sunday, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where a lot of churches in the 90s around here got like a little infiltration of cash, and they did away with all the cool attributes of the interior. This one never did. So you walk in and it's like a country church, little kneeling altar. There's like the fellowship hall, kitchen is in the back, and I'm going to make it hopefully I'm going to make it my kind of culinary studio.
Oh,
situation.
like your test kitchen playhouse kind of thing?
Yeah, but maybe also
cool.
do like weekend at Viv's
nice.
type events and
very
things
cool.
like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know this about you, but every time we sit down, it's unbelievable because you do not let the grass grow. Let's Dr. Phil this for a moment. Where are you in your life? What's
Dr.
going
Phil
on?
anything.
No, I mean, seriously,
I saw him in a hotel room
We'll be right back.
on the TV, and I was like, "Whoa, Phil's not doing good."
We don't have. Oh, by the way, you got a black cat walking by.
Yes, that's my cat, Cargo.
Cargo.
It's a long story, her name, but she's very sweet. Maybe Tina and Cargo will give y'all a show.
Oh, do they
later.
play?
Well, reluctantly, Cargo plays with Tina. But it's hilarious. You're just anyway, you'll see.
Well, but yeah, so a lot has happened. You've been, you for a while, I even said, I feel like Vivian's laying low. She's laying low for a moment. But then you had so much that was transpiring. And of course, you've got this amazing article that you wrote to the New York Times. You're writing all the time for the Garden and Gun. And then all the restaurant stuff. We need to get into that. But I guess, maybe we'll fold it into, let's go down to South Carolina. Let's talk about Lenoir, not Lenoir.
I got it right this time.
Yeah.
I got it right.
Yes, you did.
It's a very hard thing for me to say. But yeah.
Well, you're in Lenoir County right now.
I know. That's how I learned. I think it was you actually that corrected me.
Yeah. So let's talk about just the impetus of creating this. So you have a restaurant. For those that don't know, you opened a restaurant in Charleston, and so walk us through just kind of the idea and like what's the lifeblood of Lenoir in Charleston.
Right. Well, so there's both Lenoir and Handy Hot in Charleston.
Right. Yes.
And they're both on Wentworth and King. And maybe 6 years ago now, like it's been so long. I was approached about maybe opening 2 restaurants or a coffee concept in a restaurant in a hotel down there. And I immediately said, no, I'm not interested in that. And then I started thinking about just the reality of being in rural Eastern North Carolina and wanting to, have my foot in another community that was growing, despite whether or not I'm a celebrity or not, Charleston is always going to have tourists.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So thinking about my future and my ability to drive people to Kinston and also the incredible opportunity that it is to have a licensing agreement and relationship with a hotel that provides me so much infrastructure and support. So it was a no-brainer. I just didn't really know what I was going to do down there. Because I didn't want to do a Chef and the Farmer 2. I didn't want to do low country cuisine because that's not my place. And I always loved Chef and the Farmer was inspired by the ingredients and cuisine of Lenoir County, where we are right now. And I love the word. I love that so many people call it Lenoir. And so it was a really fun development process because for part of it, the pandemic was happening.
Right.
And so I spent a lot of time here on this farm, and my parents' operation is across the road, and there's metal from 100 years ago, just junk everywhere. And so, I got to dig around through that and, find a lot of attributes to make the interior really special. So I not only designed the aesthetic, but, the menu represents, what I would do now if, I were, I guess, operating Chef and the Farmer.
Well, it's a restaurant that you designed
right
today, as opposed to what you
it represents
did
the restaurant that I would open now versus 17 years ago.
Right, and gosh, it's been that long since.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Opened. Wow.
And a little bit, would you say, more tailored to who's coming, the guests that are coming in the door, being in the center of Charleston?
Definitely. It's interesting because you make a lot of assumptions about what a market is going to demand. And, I've been, running Chef and the Farmer forever, and I just assumed that Charleston would be this incredibly more, forward dining culture, but It's really been interesting, I guess, to get to know the audience and the community and, what drives success there.
So perfect segue to a question. I had a friend of mine who's a fan of yours and a very awesome female chef, and she wanted to ask you something. So her question was, what's your favorite veto-proof dish to have on your menu? She's talking about something on there for less adventurous guests who can't find chicken tenders or hamburger on the menu, a dish that you're proud to serve but still makes the picky diner happy.
Opening up with hard questions. I've tried to think about my children in that regard. She's probably not, thrilled by that. But, something that both pleases the picky diner and also pleases that works for the kitchen is our freeform lasagna.
Okay.
That we've done in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's braised pork shoulder and smoked mozzarella. Sometimes it's more traditional flavors, but that's something that you can always, it's not a necessarily high priced item, and it's also as a cook, one that, all the work and, it's very much front loaded before service. So you're not taking up a bunch of eyes and energy to do that.
Yeah. And it's cool, but at the end of the day, it's pasta, cheese, and meat.
Right.
And red sauce.
It's like specific to me, it's got like, one free form noodle. And so it's crispy on the outside and then like has different textures on the inside. And so even children can find some part of it they like.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. The red sauce noodles.
Speaking of children, recently and on our podcast, we probably, I don't know when this episode's going to come out in relation to the other, but recently, while Matt was gallivanting all around the spring break with his family, I podcasted without him. Much like the time that you and you guest hosted this show.
Oh, that's right.
At your headquarters way back in the day, and we talked to a bunch of distillers. That was like the first time that Matt wasn't on a podcast, and we're like, well, we got to find somebody. I guess Vivian Howard will do, and so that was nice. But Anthony Guerra of Oakwood Pizza Box, I don't know if you know this guy.
One of my favorite people in the world.
Well, you know that he named his daughter Vivian, and you know that he named it because of you.
I know.
And he said, "You got to tell her that." And and I know he's not here right now, but he's kind of with us. He might not be able to hear this, but Anthony, what were you going to say?
It is that fucking special.
It really is that fucking special. That's it, Anthony that said that.
I love Anthony so much. I mean, I tell you, if I'm like in a bad mood, often I'll like fly into RDU, and sometimes you don't feel that awesome,
Yeah.
And I know that he's going to be standing on that corner there, be like working his dough and like smiling face and just great energy. Love him.
He's like the embodiment of what like craft. Like he even said when I asked him if he interviewed Peyton Smith with me of Mission Pizza out there in Winston-Salem, and he was saying all I did was research this. Like ever since you asked me, I went nuts and just researched everything I could about pizza and Peyton and Winston-Salem, everything, because I'm obsessive and that's the way it is. And he's like, but I think he finds a kinship in with you in that you love immersing yourself in it, in kind of whatever you do, whether it's writing or being a chef or being on TV or whatever, you do kind of, you go all in, which I appreciate. There's a lot to be looked up to when it comes to that. Like, I don't know, like there's nothing that you output that's kind of just something you're half-assing, I would say, in my opinion. What do you half-ass?
No, I hope it does not come across that way, because it certainly doesn't feel that way. But I would say I'm different from Anthony in that he has this diligence to go in and do the same thing to some degree every day. And like he's like a master of his craft in that way. And I think I am more of someone who really loves projects, like beginning, middle, like in some cases ends. Yeah. And I go all in with that. Like, I'm so energized by creative endeavors and ideas and problem solving. So, yeah.
So speaking of a new project, and we're going to get into Viv's fridge in a minute, but I do want to take a minute for those of you, since you're a restaurant owner yourself, and we told you before the mics came on, but Cisco is proud to be the title sponsor of the NCF&B, and they're bringing innovative ideas to your table, to our table, and you may already know them for fresh food and the broadest assortment, but another key ingredient is the wide variety of personalized solutions Cisco offers that can bring your restaurant goals to life. Mm-hmm. Every restaurant owners, whether you're Vivian Howard or Anthony Guerra, they want to know if their menu is profitable, right? Cisco's Restaurant Solutions experts work with you one-to-one to analyze your menu and engineer the design to maximize profits. Plus, they help you calculate the exact cost of each menu item to be sure you've got the right things on your menu to meet your business goals. And if you're more of a DIY or hands-on type, they have great online marketing tools to build menus, table tents, and other marketing materials, plus a library of training videos to help you run your restaurant. Go to solutions.cisco.com to find out more about how Cisco can give you an edge over the competition and stand out in today's food service industry. you've probably talked about this ad nauseum, but you're doing a lot of writing. You obviously have published books out, and they're very successful as well. But I think the most notable, maybe on a national level, was the New York Times article you wrote.
Oh, shit.
Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah.
So where I was sitting, I think you were speaking the voice for a lot of people and what they're feeling about that the restaurant industry as it stands is unsustainable. But then I was wondering, it was very poignant to obviously Chef and the Farmer, and then the dichotomy of having Lenoir and Handy and Hot. So was it like solely focused on Chef and the Farmer?
No, I mean, it was focused on really restaurants like Chef and the Farmer that are primarily open for dinner service.
Yeah.
And the difference between Chef and the Farmer and Lenoir and Handy and Hot is, the point that I was making is that, we can't have all of this infrastructure and only use it part of the time.
Yeah.
So in a hotel setting, I don't think I would have been able to write that article or understand this issue if I did not have the experience in Charleston in the hotel. So that is an example of a kitchen that is about the size of Chef and the Farmer. It has a larger staff, but that kitchen operates Handy and Hot, which is a biscuit and ham pie restaurant that is open from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. It also operates Lenoir, which is a dinner restaurant that's open Tuesday through Sunday, 5 to 10 p.m. It also operates banquets and in-room dining, and so it makes the most of the infrastructure. And yes, there's always revenue being generated. There's not, I'm not claiming that it's a perfect system or that it, is easy there. I just see the difference in efficiency than, versus many of the restaurants that my peers and myself run, and, many of the ones that, we love to eat in around the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a part of that you actually mentioned it to Katie Kennan on a podcast at the end of the year on her show, and you brought light to something that I thought was really interesting. It's not that Viv's Fridge is this autonomous business separately. It is an extension, I guess, if you will, of Chef and the Farmer or of Lenoir or whomever is making the food. I guess, is it fair to say that the funds that are produced for Viv's Fridge at a particular location are tied to the restaurant of which it makes the food from?
Yes,
is that right?
So the idea is for Viv's Fridge to operate in the kitchen of a restaurant that is running, that is serving guests, whether that be, casual dining situation, whether it be a fine dining situation. I look at it as a supplement to the revenue that we're already going to generate in the space.
Yeah. It's like a different
not
dining
only that,
room,
but
another source, yeah.
As a means to change the infrastructure of what you do in the restaurant. So my goal is to, be open 4 nights a week and have the fridges supplement, the revenue that we need to make it work, and make it work in a really positive way for everybody that works there.
It's so smart. It's just I'm doing that. I'm paying staff. I'm paying rent. Let me find other revenue streams for while we're here and while we're working, and give us reason to be open more, and I can pay my staff more. It's
and not only that, but allow my staff to evolve. Mm-hmm. I think so many of us open our second and our third restaurants because we have, leadership that we want to take somewhere or that want to go somewhere. We want them to go somewhere in our organization, or we have people that don't want to work at night anymore.
Yeah.
Or want to pick their kids up from school. And so, it allows you to not open a bakery.
Right.
To do that, where everybody works during the day.
And then even if you're a baker, you got to be up at 3 a.m.
Or maybe you do open a bakery and in your space.
Right.
It's not a crazy argument. but yeah, the fridges are meant to do that. And you know, the thing is that Chef and the Farmer's not open right now.
Right.
And what we've really been trying to do is figure out the economics and what works in the fridge, what doesn't work in the fridge, what is the reality of it, so that we can create an infrastructure where other restaurants can do this and have it be successful.
Well, and I know, like, because you know, we're the insiders in this business, I know exactly what you're talking about, even in a firsthand point of view, because like I know Justin Wright. Justin works in your kitchen. He was one of our prep cooks at Standard Foods when I was the GM there, and we've remained friends, and he listens to this show. I'm pretty certain he's probably listening to this one because I'm mentioning his name now. But he's worked in your kitchen at Chef and the Farmer, and he said the exact same thing. He came by Crafton, my place, not that long ago, and we were talking, and I said, "How's it going?" He's like, "Oh, dude, we're cooking all the time for Viv's Fridge. It's pumping out." And I go, "Oh, really? Like, it's not just a novelty, I guess?" He's like, No, it's moving, and food is being generated like a lot. He said, "But the nice part is I have a son, and I get to go home at a reasonable hour and actually be a dad and have a real life." So from what you're saying, I mean, it does make sense. It's like, it's not like you're just saying, "Oh yeah, this sounds good in theory." It's like, no, practical application. I know people that work with you, and they very much enjoy that aspect of what you've been able to accomplish.
Yes, but it's not all butterflies and rainbows. We've had a lot of technical issues. The number of texts that I have gotten from people, and not many people have my phone number. So just imagine this, like,
well, dealing with Justin in general.
Not from staff, but people who are like, "I just tried to buy something at the fridge and it didn't open," or I just bought a short rib that was $75 and it only charged me $20. Like, because we're doing something new, and there are, like, I'm doing some really expensive research for folks. So we fixed those problems.
It's like a mini bar, right? Like it's
those were like mini bars. Yes.
What's that? I'm sorry.
So we started out with one type of fridge.
Oh, okay, and then
and they were like giant mini bars. And they have been the problematic ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were all in Eastern North Carolina. So we would have never launched in the Triangle with the problems we were having.
Got it.
So for those who are listening, maybe haven't experienced or they don't have a Viv's Fridge. By the way, we are not on the top of the charts of Tina's podcast listening services. Just put her to sleep. Sorry, Tina. No, but so for Viv's Fridge, they're smart now. They're smart refrigerators, and you have 7 of them.
I believe we have 11.
11. Okay.
Yes, and they're smart fridges.
What does that mean? What's a smart fridge?
So basically, they're all outdoor, standalone, attendantless fridges that you walk up to. You can see inside. There's menus attached. You swipe your card, or you tap your card, and the door opens, and you can pick things up and look at it, put it back. It doesn't, in these fridges, it doesn't really matter where you put it back. I'd appreciate if you put it back in the appropriate spot.
Sure.
But whatever you take out, when the door closes, you've purchased.
Oh, wow. So it's just like an automatic scanning thing.
Yes,
that's really cool.
There's a technology that, can censor when it comes out.
And it's a take and bake,
Yes.
or it's basically prep. It's prep.
No, there's no prep. There's no prep. It's all take and bake or steam and eat, or microwave if that's what you got. But meals and snacks for groups of 4.
Cool.
Do you remember back in the day when people used to buy newspapers in an old newspaper like kiosk, and you just put the quarter in, and then you lift up, and then you would take one because you're a human and you're like, hey, we live in a society, take one. But of course, when I was like a kid, we're like, you could just take all these, couldn't you? And I was like, yeah. But you're like, no one's watching. I could just take them all.
That's how all the people in New York City made money. Like, they were hustling. They would take the whole stack and then sell them as you're coming into Manhattan on the Long Island Expressway.
If you do take them all and you get charged, don't call me.
How'd the idea come up? Like, did somebody bring this to you? Did you dream this up? Was it a collaboration?
No one brought this to me. I love that question.
We're just sitting in a hotel at the mini bar, and you're like, "What if this had lasagna?"
No, do you want the long story or the short story?
In between.
Okay, 7 years ago, I was in Chicago O'Hare Airport, and I saw something called Farmer's Fridge, and I thought, and it had like hard-boiled eggs and stackable salads in it, and I thought, wow, this is great, because I've always had this fear of getting trapped in the airport or the shopping mall overnight and not having anything to eat. And so I was like, oh, this is great. It's like healthy food. They're not paying anybody to like work here. I'm going to get something. I couldn't get anything because everything was empty.
Mm.
And I also noticed the price point of everything was like between $4 and $11, and I thought, how is it worth it to come and fill up this vending machine in here, you know? But I was like struck by the idea of the attendantless quality food situation, and then pandemic happens, you know, and then we actually we operated a shipping bake shop, Handy and Hot, out of Kinston for about 2 years. That was immediately profitable because we did it out of Chef and the Farmer's already existing kitchen. And, you know, all the baking would be done between 4 and 10 a.m. And I thought, okay, wow, this is really, okay. I was about to spend, you know, $150,000 building out this brick and mortar bake shop right behind Chef and the Farmer. What an idiot. And so that was part of it. And then the pandemic happened, and, you know, I live in rural Eastern North Carolina. I spent part of the pandemic with my family and extended family on Bald Head, where there's very few dining options. The market closes at 6 p.m. and I know it's like, woe is me that I was there, but I cooked and cleaned and just really felt like there was a lack of quality options available to me.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I thought, and it was also the time that I realized, like, you know, if I can't feed people who are sitting in my restaurant, then, you know, my tentacles are really limited.
Mm.
And so I had this idea for, like, combining the idea for Farmer's Fridge and Take and Bake, you know, Gold Belly was a part of it.
Oh yeah.
Not Gold Belly, but, you know, shipping, and then realizing that I could sell you a $20, $15 pound cake and you would pay $70 to get it to you, and realizing that's really not sustainable.
Yeah.
So all of that, like, coupled with just curiosity and realizing that I didn't want to keep doing the same thing because it wasn't working for me.
Right.
And like I said, I'm a problem solver. And so I started looking into this idea of a smart fridge that would house, you know, not $500 worth of revenue, but, you know, $3,000 to $4,000 worth of revenue, so that it would make sense for the restaurant to service it.
Could you now, like, connect it to delivery too? Like, couldn't a DoorDash person access your Viv's fridge and take the things and bring it to someone's house?
Sure.
That's a freebie I just gave
you. Thank you. Problem solver right there.
I mean, why not? Because, like, you have one in downtown Raleigh at the Wine Authorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, and also, just a kind of quick little plug, but you have one at Taylor's Wine Shop.
Yep.
Yes.
Just to segue over just for a second, I don't know if you know this, Vivian, if you've had your head in the sand for the last 2 or 3 years, but we, the podcast, we do an event every year, now doing the 3rd annual Bubbles and Brisket, where Matt and I, we talk about with champagne is like the ultimate pairing beverage, and we're talking to pit masters, barbecue chefs, what do you want to call them, all the time, and it's like, man, yes, sweet tea and beer is great with brisket, but champagne's actually like the best with it. So we made a festival about that. So we have 10 chefs and tons of wine and a bunch of bubbles here and there, and we kind of pair it all together. It's happening June 3rd on a Saturday from 2 to 6. You get VIP tickets to get in an extra hour early, like you were, like in band camp going to Disneyland before it's open, something like that. But Taylor's is proudly pouring the wine, and so they're a part of it. And you have a Viv's fridge right in front of Taylor's in a really cool area. Let's be honest.
Segue, Max.
Right, I'm so smooth. The Taylor's, we've had Taylor on recently, and we've talked about it. And his little neighborhood, I mean, for those that don't know, Taylor's is like a gas station mini mart that just turned in and exploded into one of the greatest like wine shops in the Triangle. And he's in this super affluent area, which wasn't always at the time. It was just like a turnoff off of 540. And now it's like big fancy homes are there. And why wouldn't you want some gourmet food from that area? And I have shopped at that particular one. Actually, I haven't, but Felicia did, and said, oh, I just got Viv's fridge. This is what we're having tonight. I went, oh, this is awesome. And they're huge portions too. Like for our family of 4, and Charlotte doesn't eat anything that we make unless it's got bread or cheese in it. It's really like we're cooking for 3 people, and we just defrost chicken nuggets in the corner. But it's enough for like a family, and then like enough for leftovers too, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it when you look in there. People are like, that can't be for 4 people, but it really is. One of the things that really matters is that we have to make the most of space. So we're doing exactly that. So, and space and waste and packaging waste. So we're really like packing in the portions. You hear all the feedback, but portion size has not been one of them.
Has anybody watched last week's Ted Lasso?
I think I've watched last week.
What timeline
when they're in Amsterdam?
No.
I'm not.
I'm not giving anything away, but there's an American restaurant, and one of the reviews is American-sized portions. So Ted's all excited about that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Didn't Mayor Bloomberg get rid of all the jumbo-sized stuff back in the day?
Yeah, he did. But so the beyond the food part of it, though, Vivian, like there's a lot of logistics, the packaging, and just the trucking to it. Plus, did you help develop this technology, or did you seek it out? Did someone brought to you? Because I mean, yeah, food's great, but we all know the real money's in tech. So.
Oh well, no, I don't have any hand in developing the technology. I like that.
But did you have a hand in like figuring out how can we do this so that nobody steals all of the or like the traditional vending? Could it drop out? Like you do a freaking Twinkie or something.
100%. Well, yeah. I mean, I knew what I wanted it to be, and so this took more than 2 years to figure out and find, and we're really on, I think, the precipice of this world. This attendantless world, and I'm not afraid to be, in the beginning and trying to figure it out, because there's so much more to learn than just the tech piece. Like, I'm not a tech person.
Right. I
don't have millions of dollars to invest in something. My investment is my credibility and expertise and ability to figure out what people will want and test the model, not the tech. I mean, I've you don't have to do that much digging to figure out where the fridges are and where to buy them. Well, it's the other piece that is really
and like the restocking, so
you
have somebody has to be maybe understanding. Okay, Fridge and Taylor's needs 3 more briskets and 4 more caprese sandwiches, whatever's in it.
And those are the things, as I said, I'm doing very expensive research.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I'm investing in and that I want to monetize.
Yeah.
I want to. So I'm not going to tell you all that.
No,
exactly. Well, no. Okay. So, but you touched upon a point that is near and dear to my heart because, since last that you and I have spoken, I opened up my own place, right? Mm-hmm. And my business partner Kip and I, we own and run Crafted, and initially it was kind of like a food hall. We had since kind of took over most of the kitchens. We're pretty much running it as our own multi-concept restaurant. where we run 3 of the 4 kitchens. We still rent out one of them, but labor is always a big deal. And yeah, I mean, like, this is kind of possibly the crux of your article that you put in New York Times. And for those that haven't read it, please, we'll send a link so that you can check it out. But you framed it by talking about Noma, like closing, and boohoo to Noma, who gets $500 a plate for each person, and all the kitchen staff are privileged, quote unquote, privileged enough to work there because they get to stage with some of the greatest chefs in the world. And I get it, that's fine. And if you can do it, great, do it. But we all, you, me, and everyone else listening to this podcast that owns or runs a restaurant doesn't have that luxury of having free work. And so they closed because, what is it, like, I guess, did Copenhagen or like the country said like you can no longer have
free labor. I think it had something to do with that. And so it's like, because of that, we have to close our restaurant. It's like, well, no, you could just pay people and go from there. But anyhow, paying people in this business and trying to stay afloat and worrying about the cost of what things actually are worth, or not even worth, but what it costs, is tremendously difficult. And even like on the tipping side, and how do we spread tips and how do we do things? I'm currently trying to figure out how I can promote somebody on my team to be like a manager, but they can't be a manager if they're on the tip pool. That's like a legal thing. But then you also could just take everybody off the tip pool, collect tips, but then just pay them all a high rate and do whatever you want with that money. But then there's no incentive for the servers to like work hard or sell more because there are no tips in that regard. So we're all kind of just stuck in a way to try to figure it out. And I wanted to ask you, because it seems like maybe you're figuring it out. I know that what you had discussed, and I'm sure you're developing it even further, because Chef and the Farmer isn't open yet, but it's soon, I assume, close to getting to the point where you may open. And I know
that's
that
the question everybody's asking.
I know.
Max.
Yeah. Well, she'll tell us on our show because we're close, and she's going to tell us exactly the day and when. But she'll tell us. But whatever. When it opens, you alluded to making it, I guess, not like cafeteria style. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but
I think that's exactly what it was said.
You're talking about chefs being kind of more direct, and like you sit at the bar and you order directly from the chef, and effectively kind of like eliminating front of the house, or to the as much as possible. Is that fair to say? And could you walk us through like some of the idea? I mean, help us out. We're trying to figure out how to run restaurants now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not pretending to know.
Yeah.
As I said, I was frustrated by continuing to do the same thing that was not working for me personally, and having seen a measure of success with it, and still having it not work for me personally. So, and then being able to, like, the pandemic's like, okay, you can't do that anymore. Like, let's figure something else out. So I'm not pretending to know that anything, I'm not calling the future or anything, but I do know in my own building, the challenges that we've had have been in one part related to having this tremendous upstairs space, but having it be a private party banquet facility, but having it not booked every single night. And so never having a full-time staff that can really provide the type of experience that you want to have upstairs at Chef and the Farmer. So before I open the dining room or the cafeteria at Chef and the Farmer, sorry, I'm pointing at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to monetize that space upstairs in a smart way. And I'm going to put 6 guest rooms up there that are attendant-less hotel rooms. And
wait, like to stay the night?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Everybody else has.
This is a new idea, right? You haven't told us this.
I haven't told anyone this.
Oh, that's breaking news. Well, but that's really cool because, I mean, lo and behold, way back in the day when we were here for, might have been the premiere of season 6 of The Chef's Life. I don't know. But we were talking about going to Kinston, and there are a few places. There's like the Lodge, the Motor Lodge, and there's a few places to stay, but there's not a lot of places to stay. But if you then could provide people a full experience, I think if
you're coming to Kinston to have any experience related to Vivian Howard,
right?
If Vivian Howard is offering a room to stay in, you're going to choose that one. and we're only talking about 6 rooms.
Yeah.
So I also learned in my hotel experience how valuable that, how guest rooms really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could say it. It's
How they
okay.
can generate a whole lot. How they can mean a whole lot for not only when I'm talking about the full model of a restaurant, working with the fridges. Those rooms upstairs make a lot of sense with a kitchen that is working in the morning downstairs and providing like a incredible breakfast that people can have. Like just because they're already there.
Oh yeah.
So that's the first thing that will take place.
Cool. And that'll be, so it's attendantless, so more like how we would expect an Airbnb.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And
When I was at Midtown Grill, it was also owned by Summit Hospitality, which has like a bunch of like Marriotts and Hiltons within the company, and we'd be on these general sales calls. And they'd say, "How's Midtown Grill doing over there?" And I go, "Oh, we had a great month. We did like $175K for the month. We're like high-fiving all around." Then I'd hear like one of the GMs from the other property, and he's like, "Yeah, we did that over the weekend, man."
Wow.
Like, how dare you?
Lodging.
But it's like, lodging does, and especially like once it's all built out, the overhead is fairly low. Like
Once it's built out, if you don't have, theoretically, if no one stays in the room,
it's not losing money.
it's not losing money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if I do any, other, over the years when we produced the show or had events, I'm always renting rooms. It just makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to be a smart business person.
so do you have a timeline? Like, are they being built as we speak?
No, they're not being built as we speak. I want everybody to just give me a break.
Yeah.
Or
You wanna
give
just
me
sleep
$2
on
million.
that couch.
Yeah.
Either way,
Right.
Yeah.
you're gonna give me the money and I'll build it out. But like, haven't I done enough?
Yeah.
I think so, but I mean, you keep doing more. I mean,
People are like, win. I mean, it's not. The fact is, the people that are running Dib's Fridge are staff that have been with me for like 17 years. Kim has been there 17 years. Justin has worked with me for 10 years.
Yeah.
Angie has been with me for 15 years. Pat has been with me for 10 years.
That's
like, awesome. I don't have like a whole bunch of, and I'm not trying to, staffing is a problem in Charleston and it requires a lot of my time. And I'm not trying to make myself crazy again.
yeah.
Look, I mean, you are on a completely different level than I am, but there is a parallel in that you and I both do media and we both run a restaurant or restaurants in your case. And I know what it takes to just do what we're trying to do. And I feel like I'm being pulled apart at the seams at all times in my life. And it's like, how do you do all this? And from time to time I've written, for a magazine or I've done things. And it's like, I love all this stuff. I look up to you as like, Vivian's crushing it. She does all this stuff. But I get a little solace knowing that you also know and you're like, you're coming apart at the seams a little bit too.
Yeah.
Because you have even more things going on and you have a higher profile. You have a lot of attention as to like what you're doing. I still have the luxury of kind of laying low and failing in private, like I know I
get to fail in public.
Yeah, you get to fail in real big public, if we don't serve a dish right or the technology fails on our delivery system, which happened over the weekend. I only hear it from like 4 people, like when they email me and say, "Why could I not get the takeout?" I'm like, "Yeah, there was a tech problem." You're getting it probably all over the place when things come. I mean, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's relentless. It's relentless.
Yeah. So with TV and all, where are you at with being on TV? Are you taking a hiatus? Are you working on it?
I'm actually working on it. I have been working with this production company called Intuitive Content, and we're developing a concept. It's just really kind of about finding a home for it. It's rooted right here.
Yeah.
And so we'll see.
So anything to like, I mean, you don't want to tell too much about the
Sure,
That's
you
all
do.
you're
Tell us the
getting.
whole concept.
That's all you're getting. But
Okay.
I mean,
but you're in development.
yeah, I mean, and I, again, I'm just trying to be smart and know like works for my family, so I can like be here. You know, I loved making Summer South so much, but I traveled so much for that, and it was like I want to be on TV, but if I can't be on TV, like kind of on my terms, like here, I don't know that it works for me at this point.
Yeah, because I mean that's what Max you were saying. I mean, obviously it took a toll on your family as well.
Yeah, and me personally, and like, you know, what am I trying to do?
Yeah, and that's why. You know, I know you get this question all the time, and I know you've said, "Oh, we wanted to be like Seinfeld and like leave at the top." But so many people ask you, like, "Oh, Chef from the Farmer, you had a hit. Why'd you stop it?" You know, and
You mean a chef's
Chef's
life.
Life.
You're talking about
Sorry,
the TV show, not
yeah,
the restaurant.
Yeah, A Chef's Life. Yeah, why'd you end it? And yeah, I can only imagine. But then I don't know. I was working that out in my mind, so I'm kind of thinking out loud and saying, "Oh, well, I can see it probably took a toll on your family, and in some way it sure did." But then somewhere south, you were traveling also.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like that. The reason I stopped making either A Chef's Life or Somewhere South was that it took a toll on me personally or my family. I would say that with A Chef's Life, you know, it was very much rooted in me running Chef and the Farmer, and you know, being this struggling chef that cooks in a kitchen every single day, and you know, having not really evolved a whole lot over a period of time.
Right.
And that is just like when something works in media, people want you to keep doing the same thing, and I just can't.
Yeah.
And you know, relationships change and people want to do different projects, and so like I don't as much think that, you know, we ripped the rug out of anybody out of like the success of A Chef's Life. Is like we just
Grew out of it.
You told the
I
story.
wouldn't say I grew out of it. It was just like it was enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you know, Somewhere South, it premiered in March of 2020, and you know, a lot happened after that.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. It doesn't seem like something that will excavate again. Even though I'm most proud of it that I've been of anything I've done.
I mean, that whole series was tremendous. You did have me on for a blip where I talked about pickled mushrooms. So I think that might have been maybe the best part of your show, but that's just my opinion, you know. But
When you said that, it reminds me, and it's not as comparable, but remember Larry, the bartender, who was the Elvis on the opening credits for Entourage?
what?
You see him for like a nanosecond on the opening
Oh,
credits.
okay, sorry. You're talking, got it. You're talking about Lawrence Tompkins, who worked with us at
Yes.
Cafe Del Rey. Okay,
Yes.
I thought you were asking
Also the
Vivian's
manager
story.
for,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Jackie Mason. He was.
I know
Yes.
Entourage.
Yeah, no, Matt and I at the.
No, Max saying that reminded me of Larry always telling us, well, I was on Entourage.
Yeah, all the bit pieces. Oh, we could have a whole episode about all the bit pieces that I've been in on TV, because in the year of 1998, I was in 30 some odd productions of television shows because I just moved to LA, and I'm like, this is how I'm going to make it. So from Boy Meets World to She's All That to 90210 to Melrose Place to Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey to like literally I'm in all of those shows.
Wow, I missed you. I must have missed you.
I
He'll send you
squeezed myself
his
into
reel.
the zeitgeist of America by doing that. But okay, just being silly.
So maybe if Intuitive Concepts needs like another talent.
Intuitive content.
Intuitive content.
So yeah, if they need anything else.
You just ask them.
It sounds like all the content's already made.
That's true.
Yeah, I'll stand in the corner right behind you, like the creepy kid in 3 Men and a Baby. All right, so
like that.
Yeah, exactly. I have my cameras not positioned well, where I'm not seeing the sleeping Tina as well as I should. But so obviously, Matt alluded to it. You mentioned it. You've written about it. Not to get all gossipy, but your family life changed as well.
Ooh, I'm usually the gossiper on the show.
I know, but you weren't asking questions. I'm asking questions. I mean, you wrote about it. You write in Garden Gun. You're pretty open, which I appreciate. I think that's part of your brand. Maybe you agree with me or not, but being open and being relatable is part of who you are. And you and Ben are no longer together. He's been on the show. He's doing his own thing. He's an amazing artist. I believe he's still running Benny's big time out in Wilmington. That's his baby. But that must have obviously, I mean, Matt and I are both married, and I don't know, where's life now for you? Like, how does this transition feel? How long has it been? And what's going on in your life?
I mean, I thought this was the North Carolina Food and Beverage podcast. This is not Garden and Gun. You know, when I write for Garden and Gun, I can sit there and craft my words over a period of, and it's very specific. But you know, my experience is interesting because my marriage and family life and restaurant life was on TV.
Yeah.
And you know, we filmed Christmas right here in this living room. You know, so. Yeah. It's not like it's been an anonymous experience, and it felt like for me, it's been almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, I didn't talk about it or tell anyone for a really long time. And it was easy because the pandemic was happening and I wasn't going anywhere. And then we opened Lenoir, and I'm all in the dining room and there, and everybody's like, how's Ben? How are the children? And I'm like, you know, lying, and then slowly like telling people, like, you know, in the middle of the dining room in Lenoir, and then started crying. and realizing that was also not the best way to do it. Yeah. But not wanting to, you know, make an announcement on, you know, social media. I hate it. I mean, people can do whatever they want, but I just couldn't see that happening. So I felt like crafting some articles in Garden and Gun about it was my very subdued way of letting people know. Yeah. Rather than you know, putting on an Instagram or talking about it on your podcast. But thanks.
we'll let you off the hook.
Well, the fact is I'm not the only one who's a part of it.
Correct.
Ben is too,
and it's not.
And I don't want to, you know.
Yeah, we'll save the extra 10 for bonus content called the NCFB-NG.
NG.
Yeah, the gossipy. Yeah. So you're developing a TV show. You are getting close to opening up Chef and the Farmer again, possibly with now hotel rooms and Airbnbs. I mean, you are doing a lot. So whenever somebody's like, "Yo, what's next? What's next?" You also wrote another book. I mean, you're constantly putting.
Yeah, and I'm a mom.
You're a mom.
You know, and I have been doing these, you know, very, very involved culinary cooking workshops.
Yeah.
Called Weekend at Vivian's, which is, you know, a way for me to do something that I love, which is teach and have it be in a more intimate environment where, you know, I can remember your name because we see each other like 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Let's plug that for a second. How do you get to go to Viv's weekend or weekend at Viv's?
Well, it was something that that we tried, and we launched one in February for 12 people, and it and then we were able to sell that really quickly. So we launched two more to see if it was something that we would continue. And we just finished the last one on Sunday, and the verdict is that we will. So, so far you can't access it anymore, but it was like, can we all, is this going to work? Is it going to feel, how are we going to feel at the end of it? But we're going to launch some more for the fall shortly. And on our social media or vivianhoward.com.
That's where you go to get your tickets on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We didn't get into the grits of it. The Chef and the Farmer, if after you get the upstairs, the downstairs will be a cafeteria style.
Yes, but I think cafeteria has a very low brow intonation. I don't know many cafeterias that have like a full service bar and a cool vibe and indoor and outdoor seating, and where the food is made by chefs. So it's really more about interfacing with the people that cook the food. That was really something that both our chefs at Chef and the Farmer and diners always got a lot out of, sitting at the kitchen bar. And cooks love to hear and share what they've made. So it's a way to, again, perhaps make the model smarter.
Yeah.
The restaurant model as it stands, hasn't evolved much in 300 years. Yeah. And while every other, industry has. So I'm just throwing some things at the wall.
Oh, yeah. I was curious. I remember you had that time where you went to Kevin Gillespie's restaurant, Gun Show, in Atlanta, and they're doing something a little different there as well, right? Where it's aren't there essentially 4 chefs cooking, and then they're basically selling their food to the guests that walk in?
Yeah.
So it's not exactly like that, of course, but I wonder if there was some sort of connective tissue to where it's the chef is being more deliberate and communicating with the guest. I mean, that's going to be unique, right?
That we can certainly talk about what it is we've made better than others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with more accuracy. And, I'm not envisioning, a artfully plated, tweezer dumb cafeteria. I'm envisioning the best version of vegetables and sides and proteins, with really a focus on vegetables, grains, and fruits, and an emphasis on meat as a condiment. I'm toying around with the idea of not a meat and 3, but a 3 in meat.
Yeah.
Can we still come down the line though with our trays?
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. So the kitchen bar at Chef and the Farmer.
Yeah.
My hope is to lower it and make that where you
walk down. But I think Vivian, I'll give you some more kudos. It seems like you're really putting into action of the things that grind your gears. So in your recent, I think it was your most recent Garden and Gun article, you were talking about how it's frustrating for you and taking all this time to prepare a plate, and then it goes out and somebody scarfs it down in a matter of seconds, and it's that wasn't even a fraction of the time that it made. So now you're kind of combining that, and you're saying, well, not only am I going to be making this, but I'm going to be serving to you, so I do get some of that pleasure to enjoy you enjoying it.
Yes, and also see what your reaction is. So many times, I don't think I'm out of line when I say there can be tension between front and back of house.
I don't know.
What?
This is new.
Not in my restaurant.
Servers throwing things.
So it's remarkable that the kitchen really gets any feedback. We don't. If front and back in house don't really communicate that well in other regards, it's nice to see the face of the consumer and the diner and see the reaction to how something looks. It also holds you more accountable.
Yeah.
Well, no doubt. As a front of the house, I'm pretty much a professional front of the house person. I don't make the food, but I love the look on the person's face of like, oh, are you enjoying that? You're enjoying that? But like, I didn't have anything to do with it other than just bring it over to the person. So there is a disconnect. And then when you talk about food being kind of like from the soul and you're cooking with love and all this, to just like hand it through a hole or whatever, and then just be like, now it just goes off into obscurity.
Yeah, and we're behind this wall that's just, no windows and
So there is something cool about that. I know I worked with Wolfgang Puck, and he was like one of the first people to ever have an open kitchen where people could see the chef, and that was his thought. He's like, people want to see what we're doing. What we're doing is interesting. It's kind of neat, and I think that was like the original connectivity of the chef to that, and that probably then spawned the whole celebrity chef aspect of it, because then it's like, oh, I see that person and I want to connect with them, and making food for someone is fairly intimate,
Yeah.
And I do also think that it's not just a response to like my desire to have less front of house. I think it's a response to the way that we want to dine as a culture, and the way that my children's generation wants to dine as a culture, the way that I want to dine with them, the way that I want to dine. I want to have a cool experience.
Yeah.
And feel like the place is unique and somebody really cared about it, and like it's all makes sense. But I don't need to have it last 4 hours.
Yeah.
Frankly, if I sit and order a meal with my children and we have to wait 30 minutes, I'm just like fighting with them so they don't bring out a device. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that, it's interesting because it's like, is it the death of fine dining, or is it just an adjustment on fine dining? Because I think for now over a decade, this country has been getting to a place where we still want that high level of ingredients and food and execution, but we just want it in a less formal setting. And what's interesting about that, though, is now the fine dining white tablecloth place that are doing it right, they are surviving and thriving, because the people that want that and do want, or a night of more formality, I feel like are going to that more often because that's what they want. Not that they don't want the other thing, but a couple of those fine dining places are shining right now.
100%. I think that we're separating. I'm not going to say that. I think that I was going to say a sexist thing.
Oh.
I was going to say the men from the boys.
Oh yeah, you can't say that.
I can't say that.
You can't acknowledge
the adults from the kids.
I think the cream in fine dining will rise to the top, because people are still going to want to do that. I still want to do that.
I'm not tolerant of that comment.
What? Okay. Anyway, people scratch all of that. Fine dining has a place, and a place that I will enjoy on special occasions throughout, my life. Yeah. And I think that,
and sometimes it's nice to get like dressed out,
100%, 100%. And I think the best ones will continue to do wonderful, and I hope even better ones open up.
There's still different levels of whatever you want. Why would we eliminate something that brings a lot of people joy? I mean, and it should be paid for. I mean, that's what fine dining is.
Yes.
It's like, this is an experience just like anything. I mean, if you went to get like a massage, or you got your car detailed, or whatever it is, this is like a particular craft, getting a nice haircut or a shave or anything like that. All that stuff is done by, typically a human, and you got to pay for that. And that's why it's not going to go away. It's something that we all indulge upon, and we all eat all the time, so why not? I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. This is really dumb. This is like one of the last things I wanted to put up that I wanted to not really even ask you. I'm just going to tell you. So this stupid, Matt got me started talking about the Chat GPT and all the AI stuff, right? All this like nonsense. And
it's all Matt's fault.
It is your fault. But like, I was like, okay, fine. I got to get into this, and I got to like figure out what it is.
Well, first of all, I was just shocked that I knew something technologically before you did. I mean, that was...
Yeah, that was pretty remarkable.
It was like 2 things in a week.
But Sarah probably told you about it, right?
Of course.
Yeah, right. So that makes sense. So I got like it's not even Chat GPT, but it's like another version of this thing. And we had just...
Do you know what Chat GPT
yes,
is? Okay.
very. I could tell y'all a whole bunch, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay,
no, come on.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But all I did is I was like, okay, let's see how good this AI is. So I'm not going to ask you these questions, but I did put into Chat GPT. We had just put you on the calendar, and I was like, oh, we're going to interview Vivian. Hey, Chat GPT, what would I ask Vivian Howard if I was to interview her?
Oh no, this is so scary.
So it's kind of weird. I'm just going to read these questions to you. Most of them are pretty rote and pretty whatever, but there's some I was like, oh, like...
I don't have to answer them, do I?
No, you don't have to answer them. I'm just going to read real quick. How did you develop a passion for cooking, and what inspired you to become a chef? Pretty good question. Can you describe your approach to cooking and creating new dishes? How do you source your ingredients, and what role do local and seasonal foods play in your cooking? Can you share a particularly challenging, rewarding experience you had as your career as a chef? And then there's a little more.
You should have saved that one and actually made it like it was your own.
I know some of these
that
are
actually sound smart.
How do you balance running a successful restaurant business with other ventures, such as hosting a TV show or writing a cookbook? I was like, oh, well, that wasn't generic. They knew it was Vivian that I was directing this towards. And there's a couple other ones. How do you balance traditional Southern cuisine with modern culinary trends and techniques? Can you share a favorite personal dish on your menu, and what makes it special to you?
Okay, can I just tell you this?
Sure, yes.
That if an actual reporter or podcaster or high school student reached out and wanted to interview me, and those were the questions that they asked, I would probably be rude.
Would you flip a table?
Yeah.
Flip a table and run out the door?
I would say, Google it.
Right.
Okay, I'm glad you answered that, because as I was reading them, I go, these are kind of good questions. And
No,
I'm sure
they're not. They're like...
they're obvious.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I mean, they're obvious.
Yeah.
They're obvious. I was actually thought it was going to be something smart. So I'm thrilled now.
So now you're not going to do the robot waiters at Chef
exactly.
But hold on.
Not for
On
now.
the drive over here, while I was driving from good old Raleigh down to Deep Run, I asked if Chat GPT could tell a joke inspired by Vivian Howard.
Okay.
And it gave me 2.
Okay.
Why did Chef Vivian Howard refuse to cook for ghosts? Because she said they always gave her the crepes. Okay, so one point for Chat GPT, 1 point for AI. Okay, and then
it was so bad, it was good.
Yeah.
And then I also read it horribly, but and then I like that the next time I wrote
creeps.
Yeah,
She always
crepes.
thinks for creeps.
Yeah,
I thought I'd hit y'all something
It
up.
was crepes. It was a double entendre. I think that was the joke there. And then the next one I asked, I love that like it even prefaced when I said, "Will you tell me a joke inspired by Chef Vivian Howard?" And then it wrote, "Sure. Here's a joke about Vivian Howard. Why did Vivian Howard refuse to cook with a broken oven? Because she didn't want to risk serving her customers half-baked dishes."
Yeah.
Which is, hey, but kind of Viv's fridge is like par-baked. No. All right. Well,
Before we get out of here, I have a real question, and we have some gifts for you that we brought, and I'm going to let Max tell you about the other stuff. But we were coming in, and I said, "Well, we're going to Vivian's house. I got to bring something, And I said, "Well, I'm going to bring her some wine." But I had no idea. I was like, I know you've like dabbled in the cocktail world, and obviously like Chef and the Farmer has bar. But like, what is your alcoholic adult beverage of choice?
I drink wine. It depends on the season, but I'm moving to white wine, sparkling. My cocktail is currently like a mezcal Negroni.
Speaking my language.
And I drink whatever people are pouring.
Okay, but like, is there a white wine or a wine that you find more that either you're buying or asking for or craving?
Like particular grape or style.
Yeah, either.
I would really like a medium body, food friendly, white, unoaked.
All right. Well, I kind of have a knack for this.
Okay.
So I brought you, this is not a plug, but this is a dry Riesling that's from the Peach Orchard Vineyard up in the Finger Lakes region of New York State, and it is exactly that because it's not a typical Riesling, but it's got some body and texture, and it's pretty much exactly what you're looking for.
I love the Finger Lakes wine.
Yeah. So
Nice.
cool. Max?
Well, yeah, and then before you get out of here, you got the Joe Van Gogh coffee, and you got a cool white grandpa dad hat that I could definitely see you rocking.
that.
Yeah, while you're farming out here, I think that's what I want.
But
there's got to be like a TikTok of you farming in our hat, and then of course
For a mezcal cocktail, maybe.
yeah, we work together with Remedy Cocktail Company, and they put a bitters together with us. And so, of course, we're the NCF&B, so we have the NCF and bitters. And it's pretty cool. Like Matt and I, we were just talking on the show with them as we were saying, like, what would our flavors be? And I just said to Matt, I was like, well, let's think of 2 herbs or 2 flavors that we both individually like, and we'll count 3, 2, 1 and say them out loud. And let's just see if those 2 would be cool together. And we went 3, 2, 1, and I yelled out dill, and Matt yelled out
Chive.
yeah, but like we didn't know what we were going to say, but dill and chive clearly go well together.
Yeah.
And so they made a dill and chive bitters, which obviously it's not like it's more of a savory bitter, so kind of throws you for a loop, but we're like, let's do it. Why not? So we've been at Craft and putting it in like our Bloody Marys. I also do
Bloody Mary. Yeah.
yeah, and we're doing like a tomato water gin drink with a little pickle brine in there, and put that in, and it's perfect. So it's not going to be like it serves a particular purpose, which I like. It's not just going to get lost, I think, in the sea of other like flavored bitters. You're like, no, this one stands out. So use it. You can even use it in food too. So if you want a little bit more dill or chive brightness, even into like a cream cheese spread or something,
Yeah,
you
I
can
was
flip it
thinking.
in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or what?
Sour cream and onion potato chips. That's what
Yeah.
More of that.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. If anybody else wants to get it, you can go to remedycocktailcompany.com. You can get the link in our show notes to go from there. Vivian, thank you for having us on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, Vivian, thank you so much for having us out here. Very excited to see what you're doing, and even though you didn't give us a drop on When the Chef and the Farmer are, of course you'll release that on our show the next time.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll hold you to that. But seriously, thank you for all of you out there. Go check out Viv's Fridge wherever you can, and you will eat extremely merrily.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
And
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Thanks for listening to the NCF&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long,
What'd you think,
review us
Tina?
on iTunes, and
that
remember,
good for you?
5 stars are encouraged.